country club Christian, I'm a zealot. Truth's gonna hurt, man, I ain't tryna sell it. And if you think you can refute it, you'll regret it. Cause that's the way it is, like it is, how I tell it. Ain't a country club Christian, I'm a zealot. Truth's gonna hurt, man, I ain't tryna sell it. And if you think you can refute it, you'll regret it. Cause that's the way it is, like it is, how I tell it.
Okay, firstly, I gotta address apologetics. It doesn't make sense, I'm not sorry, I don't get it. The fact that he was crucified means that we're all indebted. We should demand to have a culture that doesn't soon forget it. Every knee shall bow, every tongue shall confess it. Christ is king, listen up, get the message. The time is short, the deception is impressive. The church itself is corrupted and wretched. They preach about grace, no righteousness expected. God gaze at the pulpit because the sin is accepted. The devil calls, they don't even try to reject it. They're employed by Satan, they are tax exempted.
Ain't a country club Christian, I'm a zealot. Truth's gonna hurt, man, I ain't tryna sell it. And if you think you can refute it, you'll regret it. Cause that's the way it is, like it is, how I tell it. Ain't a country club Christian, I'm a zealot. Truth's gonna hurt, man, I ain't tryna sell it. And if you think you can refute it, you'll regret it. Cause that's the way it is, like it is, how I tell
It's
it.
neither land of the free, nor is it home of the brave. When you got people here killing babies every day, and all the Christians here think that they can get away if they throw a couple bucks into the bucket on Sunday. But I don't think that that's the way it works. He said to seek the kingdom and his righteousness first, but you wanna grab a handbag, a Rolex, and what's worse, you think that you deserve it, but the bubble's about to burst. It's time to rise, sell the cloak for a weapon. Got the sword in my left, in the right, Smith & Wesson. And I don't think it's wise for you to try to be testing. If you become a Goliath, then I'ma teach you a lesson. It's apostasy, and what the cost will be is the people in the church and state accosting me. But I'm speaking honestly, you are not the boss of me, because I only give allegiance to the one true
What
king.
is
I don't care if we burn
up,
down this whole
everybody?
country 'cause it's wretched and rusty and
Welcome
rusty
back
and ugly and
to the
ugly.
main
Churches
character
and states
podcast,
their democracies and
level
liberty and place
49.
Ain't a country club
Made
Christian,
possible
I'm a
by the Cult of Con. That's you guys. I'm Con Man, and thank you for being here. That intro went a little weird there for a second. The video just like ended. I thought it was longer than that. Well, there you go. Let's go. Welcome back, everybody, to the main character podcast, level 49. We're getting up there, aren't we? It's Wednesday. It's hump day. It's trash day, for crying out loud. Dude, I forgot to take out the trash. I mentioned it on the podcast where I was like, I gotta take out the trash. I gotta remember to take out the trash. And then, obviously, I mentioned it on Bulge that that I forgot. But dude, I can't believe I forgot to take out the trash. Crazy. How's everybody doing? We were chatting already before things even popped off. It looks like everybody's already here. We've been getting used to the idea of rolling in early. Like we do the show pretty late. It makes sense. So great to have all of you guys here. We've got basically everybody. I can't even go back all the way because chat's just been blowing up already so far. So it's great to have all of you guys here. It truly is. I mean, my favorite thing to do on Wednesday night is hang out with you guys. I was thinking about it earlier. It's like, well, YouTube is something that I do for fun. You know, I work. I try to balance this out. I don't have all the time in the world to be like on the thing creating all the time. But this is like our moment of zen here that we get midweek. You know, we're halfway through the work week. Weekend's coming up. We're almost there. You know, those of us on that Monday through Friday type grind. And it's just good to be here with you guys. Obviously, we've got a lot of our main people here. I can just see right off the top, we got Charlie Nuclear. We've got Half Truths. We got Wendy. We got Samantha Fox. We've got Cody. There's so many people in here that we know. We got Doctor Who. And, you know, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's just go ahead and give the customary greeting for everybody here. I just was watching I was watching Biblical Hitmen with Unraveling podcast before this. And, obviously, I think they're still going, so, you know, I think they're probably talking about real stuff. So if you're interested in talking about serious stuff, you know, go catch the last of their stream over there. But, you know, obviously we're here, we're hanging out. It is the week of the 4th of July here in the USA. There's a lot of stuff to talk about regarding that, and that is what we're going to be talking about tonight here on the Main Character Podcast. But before we get too comfortable, I want to go down and let you all know that we're pulling into the station for the first stop on the journey here, by the way. And I will catch back up with you guys in chat here for a second. But yes, we are pulling in to the station because it is time for us to arrive in Shilltown. So if you look to your left, you will see patreon.com/thecultofcon. And we'll just take a moment to thank all of our wonderful, beautiful patrons who are helping to support this channel, despite the fact that we are, I guess, too controversial for monetization. Although I did see that they added that new chat feature that makes people compete with each other for the social credit score, as we've been calling it. So I don't know if that's visible. Is that happening for you guys? Oh, yeah, I see. Yeah, we got crowns. That's pretty cool. I don't know. I wouldn't. Don't send a super chat if it lets you. I don't think that there's any. I have no indication that that does anything, if it's even an option. But don't worry about it, y'all. It looks like that feature is becoming like an everybody live stream feature. So let's go. We've got Stacy Sella. We've got Mad Pax. Did I shout out to you, Doctor Who, already, my friend? We've got. I've said hi to you all. Oh, we got Marcus. What's up? Sebastian, what's up? We already said hi to Cody, but you know, the gang's all here. Charlie Nuclear. Yep. All right, y'all. I'm going to squeeze up to the front of the line here. Let's get back. Oh, we got Allison. Yeah, there's going to be some familiar faces here. We got Mama Khan. Good to see you. And Duncan Stone said earlier that it was his first time here, so it's good to have you here, my friend. Welcome in. And, of course, Pearl. Welcome in, Pearl. David, oh, we finally got David back. Good to see you, my friend. I know he's been taking a break from the cesspool that is the internet lately, I've heard. I could probably use the same thing. But you know what? I mostly tune everything out. I'll be the first to say that when I was like 16, I was the guy who was always on his phone. I was constantly texting everybody. Just needed social interaction like 24 hours a day. And as I've gotten older, I've gotten to the point where I just kind of like ignore my phone, ignore the email. I never get back to anybody. It's not because I don't like people. I'm just like, I just don't have enough energy for it anymore. Like, I have to be like, all right, it's time to check emails. And like sit down and like read them and like reply, like text messages too. I'm sorry. It's not that I don't look at my phone. I have to formulate a message and send it, and I just suck at doing it. Like a lot of times I'll read it and then I'll be like, okay, I'm doing something. There's a ladder. I'm up a ladder, whatever. Okay, I'm going to put this away. I'll check on this later. I suck. I suck at interactions. I'm trying to get better about it because I'm trying to get more serious, trying to build out the office here, trying to become more organized. It's part of my overall thing. I went so far as like an overcorrection to, I spend too much time playing video games. I spend too much time on my phone. I spend too much time on the internet. So I was just like not looking at any devices at all. And so I need to work on that. I'm a little bit like bad at replying. But with that being said, it's great to have all you guys here. I know I said that. What's up, Amelia? Good to see you there. And we got Jenny Layton, Tartarian Prepper. We got Naomi Anderson, Zigzag. It's like all the regulars. I know all of you guys now. It's weird. It's like I've seen you all so many times. Oh, the chat just skipped up, but I did see Steven and Bruce Jesse and Miles and MK Ryan made it in tonight, my friend. Good to see you. Daddy Skip. We got Biblical Hitman in here too. Oh, yo, what's up, guys? So you everybody just over here now? Is your stream even over? It's great to see you guys. Welcome in. I'm going to get down to some brass tacks now that I have anything freaking prolific or anything to say at all. Good to see you, Nancy. Welcome in. All right, let me go ahead. We'll take center stage here. We did the shill thing already? Heck yeah. All right, that's out of the way. I've started a new technique here when we do the thumbnails where I'm going to start putting the title of the episode on the thumbnail. So like retroactively, I'm going to go back and put the titles of all the episodes on the thumbnails. Because I feel like this kind of gives us a little bit more of a picture of what we're looking at. Level 49, freedom. And there's quite a few things I could say about freedom. And I tend to write like little short blurbs in the descriptions of these videos that are kind of like semi-relevant, and then it says, oh, this is the cutting edge of conspiracy content. And we always say that, right? This is the cutting edge of conspiracy content. It doesn't really mean that. It's just something I say. But I always say that you can't have the truth without the way, the truth, and the life, and that is Christ Jesus. That's really important that we get that across within the first few minutes of the show, just because people need to realize that this is, at the end of the day, we are a Christ-believing channel here. This is a cult of people who, although they drink Kool-Aid and act crazy and believe in weird, strange things, they actually have a grounded reality, a foundation in the truth of truths, right? King of Kings, Lord of Lords, let's go. And anyway, we spent quite a deep dive. We had quite a deep dive last week on the whole Christ Dominion movement thing that I've been drumming up in my mind for the last few months. And I've been thinking about it, and I definitely want to keep going with it. But tonight, it's just going to be chill and easy going. And I know that Charlie Nuclear was like, I don't hit the like button until I see the veins bulging out of his forehead while he's ranting. It's like, oh shoot, I have to get all worked up now in order to earn the like button. All right, don't threaten me with a good time. As you can see behind me, I have this beautiful American flag, and it's actually really nice. Okay, it's like a high quality flag, and it's a cool story. The legend of the flag. Before we get into that, I guess I'll say I used to be a huge patriot. Like all my life, I was like, America, yeah, like, I was America guy, And I guess I kind of grew up in that, global war on terror era. So we were kind of propagandized by Nickelback and stuff. So it was like, well, we gotta, they say that a hero can save us. You know what I'm talking about? It was a good era. Okay, so anyway, I was pretty patriotic most of my life, even up until pretty recently. Big pro-America guy, and I actually liberated this flag during an Antifa protest in the Portland area. Like they were gonna destroy it, and I rescued it. So it's a bit of a treasure to me, even though it's not like I'm not a huge patriot to this day or anything. But it's kind of like a war trophy from like what was perceived in that time as like resistance to the degeneracy flowing out all over the Portland area. It's like, no, we're the final stand or whatever. Anyway, that's where the flag came from. And then this is like my one patriotic shirt. This is the week of the 4th of July. There's so much to say about that. And it's like I said, we'll talk about it tonight. But I want to start by talking about, I guess, that message, right? The global war on terror, the childhood that we had growing up with like the post 9/11 thing, and I think even the guys on Biblical Hitmen and the girls from Unraveling podcast were just talking about this stuff earlier, like, how old were you when 9/11 happened? I don't even know, I was 7 or something. It's like a kindergartner. But I remember it pretty vividly. We've talked about it in the past on the show, and it's just one of those things where that's kind of what shaped, I think, my worldview early on, and it was kind of like we were basking in this pro-America I guess propaganda. I mean, you could really say that. And it doesn't necessarily mean that propaganda is inherently wrong, but it just, it speaks to a narrative being driven, and the driven narrative was to be pro-America because, well, we were going to engage in this like war effort that was kind of a continuum of a previous war effort, the whole Gulf War conflict and stuff. It meant that we were going to be in the Middle East some more with our guys, with our equipment, with our money, and the people needed to be convinced that it was a good idea that was happening, and really, there's a lot to be said about that too. But what I really actually wanted to do was to take a moment to think about how, when I grew up, I understood that the American flag meant something, that to people who have died for it, it was about the freedom for people to be able to speak their mind, for people to be able to carry guns and to defend their families, their homes, their communities and schools and stuff. And obviously, to speak to that, there's been a ton of accounts just even in the last week. There was a attempted mass shooting at a church, and he was stopped by church parishioners and security who had guns. And then obviously there was like an attempted mall shooter not that long, like just a couple days ago, and who was also thwarted, not after first taking a few casualties in his freak out. But what I'm getting at is just that we learn that this stuff is important, especially as it starts to get eroded from underneath us. We start to see the value of the rights that are enshrined in the U.S. Constitution, and that's what this flag really represented to people. Even if the United States is not the perfect thing, and if I've come to a point in my life where I don't ascribe to the governments of men or the nations and flags of men, but that my allegiance is to higher things, to Christ and His kingdom. But even with all that being said, I want to take a moment to really consider the fact that so many people have throughout history done and amazing things, lived honorable lives and done good things in the name of the flag and what those rights were that Constitution supposedly represents, right? The God-given rights that are enshrined in the Constitution are not given to us by governments. They're not given to us by men who say that you have the right to speak your mind. You have the right to defend your family. Those rights come from God, and the founding documents say so, regardless of how twisted the current version of it is. And in a way, it reminds me a lot of the church, where there was once something that it was meant to be, and today it's something very different. But the heart of what it is should never be forgotten. And so with this American flag, with this shirt, although it's Budweiser, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm a big Budweiser guy. I mean, especially not now. But the point I'm trying to make is just that it should be stated before I spend the next hour and a half attacking my own country that I have always been a big fan, and I think that there are so many people who have done so many great things in the name of this flag and for what this flag represents, and I don't think that should be taken for granted of. Like, here we are speaking, I'm sitting in here, I was talking about this earlier. There's, and you can ask anybody, there's just a different standard of living here in the United States that we take for granted without even thinking about it, you know. I was drinking a cherry lime body armor. I love those body armor drinks. They literally get me through my day. And this is not a sponsored ad, although I wish people paid me, because aside from Sprite, it seems like there's only body armor. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that we are enjoying some amazing freedom here in the United States that, even though it comes under attack, and even though in a way it's like gross and like covered in a layer of stink from all the corruption, taxation, and everything else, we still have it really good here. You know, I think about how I could just go down to the mini mart and pick up some drinks and some snacks at a moment's notice. I can like get in a car. There's a paved road. There's like turn signals. There isn't like a guy like shooting off a PKM into the village or whatever. Like, things are different here than they are in parts of the world and in many parts of the world. And I think we sometimes forget that because we get so caught up in the day-to-day of how rough it is and how twisted it is. Like, you're looking at all the rust spots and it's bad. But we're forgetting how beautiful and how grand this big picture really is, even with all this corruption like laid within it, you know. And the United States has offered me an incredible life in childhood and young adult life, and I've had some amazing memories and experiences. I got so many stories, I can't even believe it. I think of myself, I must be like an old man already. I've done so many things, experienced so many things here in the United States, and that's all because of the freedom that's been granted to me in the system that is this country, even if it is corrupted and ugly and broken in so many ways. The heart of it was the reason why people fought and bled and sweat and died for this country. And I don't think those people should be forgotten. I don't think their efforts should be forgotten. I don't think that we should take for granted what we have, even if it is under attack. I feel like that's all the more reason to cherish what we have left. The fact that I can be here tonight on YouTube with you guys talking about this kind of stuff is still a beautiful, wonderful privilege that comes from God and is upheld by God, because the enemy is not stopping at any moment. So the only reason we're here is really because the grace of God, that he has preserved so much of the freedom that we do still have in the context of everything as it is. But yeah, like, my brother was in Afghanistan on a deployment, and this is, you know, a guy who was a little kid when 9/11 happened, and of course during his service period there were guys who were in the Middle East who were not even born yet when 9/11 happened. And so this is some history that our country is just never going to be able to forget. You know, it's a scar on the face of America forever, the conflict in the Middle East, the cost and all the corruption that's involved in all that. And but while my brother's over there, you know, he would be deployed with guys that are like local fighters, Afghan nationals and stuff. And, you know, their water bottle was like a Fanta with a rope tied around the neck of the bottle, and like that was what they had. And, you know, they could get water from the guys. It's not that. It's just that's kind of what they had. Like, orange Fanta was like that was the best they could have, you know. It's like, whereas we go to the mini mart and there's like 300 kinds of drinks, energy drinks, alcohol, beer, you know, whatever you want. And there's like Slurpees and stuff. Like, we got everything here. It's so, you know, I think about it all the time. I want to get something and I pull up Amazon. Oh, they got that. Ships in the next day. There's like so many boxes in my house. I have to take a trip to the dump to get rid of them because of how much crap I've had to pick up from Amazon just because it works. You know, I'm coming out of like a period of basically being nearly homeless. You have to acquire almost everything in life. So over the last year, I've gotten like pants and shoes and random other crap, like things you didn't even think you were going to need until you found it. And then you were like, yeah, I need that. And then, you know, box after box. And these conveniences are great. Like I said, despite all of the corruption of the system, there are pieces of this that are worth like giving credit to and appreciating for what they are, for how amazing they are in the grand scheme of things, that you can actually be able to order random crap or go down to the store and pick up whatever you want. It's a blessed thing, really. And America, I think, is a blessed place. You know, I know there's a lot to be said about whether, you know, is America the old world, Jerusalem, is this the land of Jesus, you know? Like, there's so much to be said about that, and maybe we can talk about that. But before we go too far into that, I just really want to reiterate and say that You know, I appreciate all the people who have done what they've done, who have lived lives, real lives, that were better than me, better men than me, better women than me. I don't know. You know what I mean? Better people than I am, who did bigger, bolder, better things in the name of this flag and for this country and for all of us people here and around the world even. You know, and when you look at like World War II and stuff, we were there with British and French and Canadian and Australian and people from all over the place, you know, our ancestors side by side, and it, albeit crazy and misunderstood conflict, but nevertheless, it was the hearts of those people and why they did what they did that shouldn't be forgotten, like I said. And so when 4th of July comes up, it's always going to be kind of near to my heart, despite the fact that the country is corrupt and we're probably celebrating all kinds of corrupt independence, and we'll talk more about that too. But just really, before I do it, I want to say thanks to all those people for all that they've done, for all the people who have sacrificed their time and their energy and even their lives so that I can be here tonight, you know. And with that being said, God bless America. All right. Now, pulls the lever and the flag falls off. It could be something like that. I could have timed it. But no, we'll keep it up for the night. I wanted to make sure that I do give credit where credit's due, because America is really, like I said, it's a wonderful place. And it's great to be here tonight with you guys, to be here and enjoy the whole, you know, chance to appreciate America for what it is. And then at the same time, to be able to hang out with you guys, because freedom is the opportunity to do what you want to do, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean that that's a good thing, although it is kind of an inherent thing, right? Like, free will is built into the universe. That's what brings all of you guys here, because nobody is coercing you. Nobody is forcing you to drink the Kool-Aid of a crazed conspiracy theorist on the internet. It was your idea to come here. It's your idea to hit the like and subscribe button. It's your idea to hit the notification bell. It's just me trying out a new shill technique. I did want to say welcome to anybody who's new here. I know we had at least one new guy tonight. Welcome to the Cult of Con. Like I said, this is the internet's cutting edge of conspiracy content. And when we talk about it, it will be cutting edge. I don't think it's a conspiracy unless you want to say, like, America is a conspiracy, which I guess you could do that. We could talk about how everything on Earth is a conspiracy, because it basically is. But that's not really what I came here to do tonight. I think that the goal was to, talk about the holiday, and obviously, kick back, because it's the midway point of the week, right? We've got just a couple days left of the weekend. I know a lot of people are taking days off for the holiday, trying to get out of town early. Traffic has been crazy. I hope all of you guys have been making it okay. Travel safe out there. There's all kinds of weirdos drinking Budweiser and then driving around broad daylight. I think some people think that if you drink and drive in the daytime, that it's normal and acceptable. It's daylight. I can see just fine. It's like, it doesn't matter how well you can see when the world is spinning, my friend. It's not supposed to do that. I know this is kind of, getting off subject here, but I did have this weird idea going on through my head earlier, which is kind of a change of subject for a moment. But I was thinking about this, this effect, right, where when you're blowing air over yourself, okay, I gotta be careful how I approach this conversation. That sounds weird. When the AC is blowing and the air is blowing on you that's cooler than you, right, it cools you off. But apparently, according to the lore, like atmospheric re-entry, you like get hot from air pressure, like the same. And I had this whole tangent that I went off on earlier, where I was talking about it with the whole idea that, like, how fast do you have to go to where it's no longer a convective cooling effect and it becomes what do they call it, aerodynamic heating, like that burned up the Challenger. Remember that? Anyway, and that's just like me having an ADD moment, but I was remembering that that's what I've been thinking about today, is that whole thing. That whole aerodynamic concept, thermodynamic. I guess, what is it? It's convective cooling versus aerodynamic heating. Some food for thought. Maybe we'll do a little research project on that. But anyway, America, as you guys know, I've kind of outgrown America, and I know that's kind of a weird thing to say, but as you know, I was like a Trump supporter in 2016, and I guess kind of in 2020. I don't think I voted in 2020. But I was hoping that Trump would win because, back then I just still kind of believed in the thing. As you guys know, 2020 was a very eye-opening period for everybody, and even myself, like, not to say I'm all-knowing or anything like that. I had a period of time where I was like a major conspiracy weirdo before some of the big revelations that came to pass about, the pharmaceutical industry in the United States and into the scope at which that it's corrupted. And the same with like the government and everything. The red versus blue dichotomy. It was something that I was not fully awake to, I guess. I still was kind of a MAGA Trump supporter guy. Hence why I had that whole like pro-Trump music video thing. And like I was on board because I wanted to resist the incoming wave of degenerate behavior. Like I was to the point where even I had been living a life of selfish, sinful behavior, could even identify that we had gone too far. Like that this was like, what are we celebrating? What are we embracing in our culture? And it was terrible. And so I started to realize that the reason all this happens is because it's not an accident, right? Like it doesn't come down to a simple like turn of events where the place is corroded and rotten and horrible just because that's what it becomes. Like everybody thinks it's like, oh, it's the fall of Rome, late stage empire, and it's like obviously what we have is a place that's from the top down corrupted, and that's the problem, right? We have, it's intentional. That's the way I would put it. Pearl says, I voted in 2020 after I saw how the election went. COVID, Trump, the vax thing. Yeah, Trump was a major vax pusher, wasn't he? That one really didn't sit well with me because he was like, he's supposed to be the big like pro-America, pro-freedom president. And that's when I really started asking questions about him because he was like basically saying, there was one specific speech, I'm sure you guys remember, where everybody booed because he was like, oh, the vaccine. And he was like, no, stop. He like told them to stop, even though it was like a lot of the crowd. And then he immediately went to this like reductive where he was like, that's just some small group over there. That's not. No, it was like the whole crowd yelled, man, because everybody knew that was BS. And I'm so tired of being manipulated, man. I'm not stupid. Doctor Who says, if you want to touch on the Black Eyed Club, I have an interesting nugget for thought. Well, I mean, that's definitely part of it, right? You have these public figures that get a black eye and show up in public with a strange, like, inexplicable black eye, and then they're involved in what potentially is some kind of a strange cult ritual or something far worse. I mean, it's hard to say with that stuff what the real answer to all of that is, but that's definitely a thing. Wendy says he's the father of the vaccine. I guess. I mean, he was the one who said that they got it out in record time, so yeah. Real freedom, right? I always come back to the churches that were trying to operate and run regular Sunday services and they were being shut down by the government, and how that's like the opposite of freedom. That kind of plays into what I'm talking about anyway, which is, how America has changed. Like how I said the church used to be something different. When Christ first built the church, it was supposed to be, his government on earth. That's why he built it on the rock of his disciples. He wanted them to be the first church and to be the individuals who helped carry out his mission of, world domination effectively. And it's changed so much from that now to an opportunity for people to get rich. And I hate that because there's so many good people in the church today. There are so many people who love Jesus. They want to be around people who love Jesus. And those churches, those institutions are generally the only place where you can do that. And of course, there's a lot to say about that in terms of like, the reality of whether church is actually an inviting place for people. No, probably not. But at the same time, it's like, it's the only choice, right? Like where else are you going to go to meet Christian people? That's what makes this channel so successful. All of these people believe Jesus Christ is the Son of God and the King of Kings. And so that's what unites us together. So then we can talk about anything else because anything else is secondary. What we know is true about the universe and about God and about Jesus and our purpose here in the world. Everything we know about that stuff is true. We build our friendships and our communications, our community and everything on that. It makes it so much much easier. It's like I've said this in the past. Like if your friendship's like built on your favorite sports teams, and then you guys face an argument about something fundamental, it might ruin your friendship because your friendship's built on something fragile, like an identity that was created by man. Hence a sports team. But that thing extrapolates, right? Like it extrapolates from a sports team to like an entire country. There are people like the thing that bothers me the most, I think, is like the whole Russia-United States conflict that never seems to end. Where it's like our government and their government wants us to not get along. Even though there's like people who have businesses that they go back and forth all the time, flying to Moscow, flying to New York, doing business in the United States and Russia. There are people in the United States who have Russian family who live in Russia and they visit them all the time and they're still very close. And it's like, why are we at odds with Russia? Like, Russia and the United States should be allies. We should be like a mega world economy. Even though that sounds really, I don't know, like Klaus Schwab-ish or something. But it's seriously, I think that the reason why they create these like movie villain characters in like a schmuck talking about a new world order and stuff is because they're afraid of the new world order. They don't want a Christian dominion movement to rise to power and say, it doesn't make sense that we're not friends with Russia. Everyone's gas should be 5 cents. We should not be wasting time working to earn money to pay for gasoline. We should be doing way better stuff with our life. We should be freaking painting the Mona Lisa or something. And instead, we're wasting money on gasoline because people think that we should be at war with our same. You can't even tell a dang Russian apart from me. Well, maybe, but it doesn't matter, dude. It's like, that's how corrupted the whole thing is. It doesn't even matter. It's like, oh, at what point you cross a section of ocean where you can't even tell that you're there anymore, and now you're in Russia. You go up to the Bering and you like go northwest, you like head west to a certain point. Oh, now you're in Russia. Whoop, whoop, whoop. It's so crazy to me. We're not doing it right now. The United States, obviously. Hey, good to see you, Val. Val says Russia, USA, Iran, and all other nations, all the same Freemasons. Only division is in the people. Yeah, it's like at the end of the day, we, the people, the regular, normal people, are just, forced to bear the brunt of what happens. Like the United Charlie's like, not yet, I need more veins. He wants me to start yelling. I'll yell about the United States a little bit more. Here, let me tell you. And there are many examples of this, but I'll easily get fired up. This is the example, right? So, and this is a good one. Donald Trump says that America should be the America first thing. We should care about America. He ran on that, right? That's the whole thing that built the the platform of Make America Great Again. That's like how Trump becomes president of the United States. So obviously that should mean we should cut ties to everybody else, right? Like if you were actually like America first, well, America has like absolutely devastated roads and things. We're 40 trillion in debt. Imagine you were like sending money to people, but you were like in debt. I'm up completely upside down. The debt collectors are at my house. They're beating down the door because I haven't paid rent, and I'm just going to mail my money to other people. Now, that's incredibly generous. That almost sounds righteous, except for that the money is deliberately going to organized crime. So it's not righteous. It's not good. And so here's the example then. You bring that to the stage and you're like, I just saw this. They're giving Republicans, oh, America first. It was like Trump halts weapon shipments to Ukraine. Oh, America first. And I was like, are you gonna halt money shipments to Israel? We're paying for their missile dome that's blowing off missiles every dang day at the cost of millions of dollars. And Charlie Nuclear is like, what happened to the Epstein list? Yeah, another great example. Thanks, Trump. He said they were going to release the Epstein list. And then, of course, there's all that BS with Elon about how they were like, oh, he's on the list. And that's now they're never going to release it. And they never were going to release it. It's so twisted. I bet it's like they said in the very beginning, like, what's up, Gwyn David? David Gwyn. Good to see you, my friend. I appreciate you, brother. Yeah, we came here expecting that President Trump was going to deliver. He said America first. He said we're going to get to the bottom of it. We're going to punish him. He didn't even try to get Hillary in jail. He didn't even try. He said that just wouldn't be right. It's like justice is not about what you feel like. That lady's a criminal. She committed crimes. Imagine that you got subpoenaed to court and they're like, make sure you bring your cell phone. We're going to be searching it. And you sent it through a freaking bleach pit and you ground it up or whatever, bleach bit, my bad. And then you sent it through a blender and then you would go to prison for the destruction of evidence, dude. Anyway, he decided not to charge Hillary. But where I'm really going with this is that you can ask anybody the difference between like a righteous government and the one that we have now. America is completely a war dog for an evil, monstrous nation in that region over there east of the Mediterranean. And it's difficult because the terminology that you use, it will get you in trouble, but you got to be real about it. This is something I was going to say. I was on the fence about saying it, but it doesn't matter. They don't like me on here anyway, so we'll just tell it like it is. And so for instance, like you get into a room with Trump, or you get into a room with anybody who has this kind of Zionist pro-Israel agenda, and you have to then rationalize, like we talked about the GWAT conflict, right? We mentioned that a couple times, 9/11, my brother's service there in the Middle East. And we're talking about this ongoing conflict that's kind of been a part of our lives in this generation for the last 25 years or more, if you're a little bit older, even, the Gulf War conflict and stuff. And so we've been basically jumping around the desert for 30 to 40 years now, and it's been this nightmare of money laundering and missing money and equipment research and enriching of these defense contractors and meat grinding of people, whether it was our people or foreigners. It didn't matter. It was just a bloodbath for 40 years. And this whole thing's been such a nightmare, all predicated on this, whether it was Saddam, his aggression, these acts of aggression that will not stand, or whether it was the weapons of mass destruction that never turned up, or whether it was some sort of other, it's because he led the terrorists, blowing up the sovereign dignitary of Iran, Qasem Soleimani, because you felt like it, because he was in Iraq on a diplomatic mission, because you don't like him, because you blamed him for doing all these quote-unquote terrorism, which is really just what everybody calls anybody who doesn't go along with their agenda. Like, I'm basically a terrorist by their definition, because I don't toe the line on any of the stuff that the government and these people believe. But anyway, the long story short of it is that, and I've been called a terrorist before. I'm like having one of those moments. I don't appreciate it. I'm not actually a bad guy at all. But anyway, the long story short of it is that, like, America has at least some standards, right? Like, even through all of this conflict, even through all of this BS, America still has this level of standard that's higher than everywhere else. You look at, like, the quality or access to goods. It's pretty incredible here in the United States. And that was one thing I touched on. But let's talk about rules of engagement. There are people who were in the GWAT, the conflict, the global war on terror conflict, and they will tell you that one of the biggest frustrations they faced in these conflicts were that we were dealing with rules of engagement where our government wouldn't let our guys use weaponry against hostile forces because of the risk of collateral damage, because of the risk of civilian casualties. And as frustrating as it might be to be a ground commander, unable to, make use of your forces, air support, whatever, because you got gunfire coming from a mountain village and you could just wipe the mountain village out, but you can't, because there's civilians there. And so we have to have rules of engagement, and our guys are getting hit, and we can't properly react because of rules of engagement. I mean, there were guys during the Obama era who would tell you that it was the most frustrating thing in the world. But at the end of the day, we still have to count that as some virtue for the United States, that because we're the good guy, we believe we're the good guy, America's the good guy, right? That we don't just blow up innocent people. And so being the good guy who doesn't blow up innocent people, how can you fundamentally, how can you justify paying a nation of people who does not hold themselves to the same standard? Not only facilitating the destruction that they perpetuate at not the same standard, right? If you take a look, and I hate to use the buzzword, but here it is. You look at the Gaza Strip, that place is a wasteland, a post-apocalyptic war zone wasteland of melted buildings, a devastated civilization. And the death toll is in the hundreds of thousands of innocent civilians over the last few years. And the problem with it is that they don't have rules of engagement. They think, no, there's a terrorist in there, boom, they blow everything up. And that's just what they say. There's no distinction required. There's no expectation that they're going to be held to account for anything that they've done in that area. And really what it boils down to is not a debate about whether or not that nation east of the Mediterranean, whose name I don't need to say for you to know who I'm talking about, they are wretched, but it's not deciphering whether or not they are wretched that's the problem. Like, if the focus is America, the United States, and the United States' problems, the problems come from the fact that our leaders are not actually representing what they claim to represent, just like our laws don't facilitate what they claim to represent. The Constitution of the United States is supposed to guarantee these rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness as they're brought by God. And from the Christian perspective, I find it to be completely insulting that there's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness begins with life. It's the first word they add, and yet abortion's legal in many states of the country and goes on to this day. And you could get on the racist wagon and you could say that it's strange that they disproportionately abort black babies in the United States. It's a genocide against black babies. But still, like, that can't raise the alarm. So it's like, as an American, you can't even extend it far enough. Like, look, if you can't say, then the Constitution doesn't count for everyone. It only counts for Americans. Okay, but what about those kids? Those unborn babies are Americans, exterminated legally in the country. The funding, your money, your gas is $5 a gallon because collectively tax money flows into war machines that blow up entire villages of people who did nothing wrong. And it's just, why? Because the outstanding corruption flowing from the bottom up. It's not even like it's our fault, but it comes from us. We are the ones being robbed of our energy and our labor and our time, and it flows forward into the top. None of these people would have anything if we didn't do it for them. I saw a video earlier that was like showing these billionaire guys, super rich, like $20 million watches, like, I can't remember the brand name on them, but they were like diamond encrusted, crazy custom watches with $20 million. And I'm just like, dude, no one should ever want for something like that. No one should ever have something like that. If a guy has $20 million on his wrist, it's because he's gotten it through ill-gotten gain. Like, it's like what you could do to harm one innocent person, but you multiplied it so much because the amount of people you'd have to wrong in order to become somebody who had 20 million to throw down on a stupid piece of jewelry. Like, that's crazy, the level of corruption that is. And it's like, we shouldn't live in a world where the height of success is given to people who rob you. That doesn't make any sense. So, I mean, what is it? Like, top to bottom, corporations, government, religion, education system. It's all designed this way on purpose. We've talked about this at length. The United States is no different. So, the United States' core principle is freedom, right? That it's supposed to be that you have the choice to choose what you want to do and how you want to live your life. But it's a giant hypocrisy. It's an oxymoron. I don't know what else you would say. It's basically impossible for it to exist and be what it says it is, when at the same time it doesn't protect the rights that are enshrined in its own definitions. The United States has seriously failed me, man, and I'm sure a lot of you guys feel that same way. And the people that come into the picture, whether it's like Donald Trump or Joe Biden or whatever, Kamala Harris, it doesn't matter. Pick one of these people. They're all ultimately just an actor, perpetuating the same can kicking that goes on that never gets us anywhere, never changes anything. And maybe it does change, but it changes for the worse, you know. And ultimately, it's because we are the energy source of all this, and we're being groomed or enslaved in such a way that we feed this thing the energy that it needs to continue doing it. I think all the time about the fact that we have the whole, this idea of Christian dominion movement and how it's different than what we're doing now, because what we're doing now is we're being absorbed. Like, all of our energy is being drained by essentially like a vampiric parasitic system that takes all of our energy, consolidates it, and then uses it to destroy innocent people. If we had control of the reins, we could totally concentrate on much bigger and better things. That's the thing that bothers me the most about the whole situation. Freedom isn't just like a freedom to choose thing. It's supposed to be about not being oppressed by systems of corruption. Jesus Christ talks about it. He says that you'll know the truth, and the truth will set you free, and you will be free indeed. And what does that really mean? Now, for obviously all of us, it's symbolic in a way, because when you learn about how things really work, it does set you free in a way. Like, you no longer live under when I see a news thing about fear in the Middle East or fear in Russia or fear somewhere, I can understand and take in the facts of the situation without becoming afraid of it, because I know that the fear layer is done to manipulate you. And that, I think, is an empowering thing. It releases you from a level of bonds. But really what Christ is referring to is the truth, right? He's talking about the truth as in the way, the truth, and the life, that when you know Christ, he can lead you into all understanding. that you can become someone who doesn't have oppression in their life. But it doesn't just happen by one person deciding that they believe in Jesus and are going to walk right. It has to be a collective effort. That's what the church represents. That's what the body is talked about as being. So freedom comes from a collective understanding. It's not just from one person realizing that they don't have to serve Satan anymore. Yes, that's a layer of freedom. The Lord sets you free from the bonds of sin by the atonement of his blood and by the fact that through his restorative work, you are no longer condemned to die, but that you'll have everlasting life in him. That is the first layer of freedom. But then we look at the world in its systematic physical form. What would freedom actually look like? At the very least, it should be the ability to truly decide how you want to live your life. And it doesn't matter where you go in the United States, you'll find examples of those fundamental human rights being violated. So, like, let's say we're looking at the United States as a whole. I always get off on this whole where I'm mad that the United States is basically violating human rights. If I can't have X number of things for X number of time, that would be an infringement. Like if I went into the ice cream shop and it was like, you can have whatever ice cream you want without infringement. And I'm like, well, let me get a scoop of that, a scoop of that, and a scoop of that. And they say, well, actually, if you want to have that, you have to wait 25 minutes because it's the policy that we can't give you a chocolate scoop on top of a vanilla unless the vanilla scoop is partially melted. And you're like, what? That's so arbitrary. You said no infringements. And they're like, well, I mean, you could still get it. It just, you need to wait a certain time. Oh, we need to background check you and make sure that you're allowed to have ice cream. You know what I mean? It's just, it's one thing on top of the other. It's so freaking annoying. I could go crazy, man. So to me, and the way I am, I'm very passionate and very, like, I don't know, I could say, like, my standards are so high now for everything. When I look at the United States as a whole, I'm like, man, the fact that there's even a single law in any state that's corrupt, why isn't the federal government, like, coming down on them, using the Constitution and, like, destroying a local government and saying, you have absolutely no right, you're engaging in an act of treason. You know what I mean? It's all just, it's... Steven, can we please do something about high-capacity ice cream cones? Do you need 3 scoops? I actually think, if I'm not mistaken, the average number of scoops per engagement of ice cream is 2 to 3, or maybe it's like 3 to 4. It's like 3 point something, but it rounds out to like 3. Maybe it's like 2.8 scoops of ice cream, but you need at least 3 scoops. That's the point. That's why you need extra scoops, because you got to have 3 scoops per kid. Or whatever. You have 3 scoops per customer. That's a pretty good metaphor. The right to keep and bear ice cream. Let's go. Anyway, I get so mad about that. Sebastian said, the human tongue is satisfied with 1 leg. Scoops aren't necessary. I don't know if we're all on the same page about what we're talking about here. The point is, guys, I like America. I think it's a beautiful place, and there's wonderful places to be, places to go, people to meet, things to do. But we've got to get a grip. You know, we've got to start understanding the difference between what American freedom is and what Christian freedom is. And I don't just mean Christian like religion. I'm talking about American freedom is, it's a distortion. It's an illusion. It's not real. It's born out of this basically satanic ideology of Luciferian freedom. At the end of the day, there's no escaping the yoke of a master. The universe doesn't have the ability to truly be free. You know, you can either serve God or you can serve Mammon and the world and Satan in some turn of the way, you know, basically. And pretty much that's where you're left with. So America at its core, right? We've talked about the integrity of the message being that it's supposed to be about giving people an opportunity and about letting people have a place where they can have freedom to speak their mind and carry their guns and have safe, secure property and choose a future for themselves and their children, build a future, right? That's what America is in spirit. And then America in practice, it's what we see today. It's this like total corruption, rampant taxation, wars, rumors of wars, corrupt media institutions, corrupt government, corrupt church, the whole 9 yards. Right? America's wasted. And then you look at it, and that's like the physical state of America and freedom. And then there's the actual like the higher like conspiratorial angle, which is that freedom itself is a deception taught by Satan, with the idea being that people can escape the purpose and commandments and scope of God, right? Like the eye of God is upon you. He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. I love what Jenny says here. My only allegiance is to Christ. I have zero confidence in the worldly nations. I heard Brian and JT talking about this the other day. We're talking about I pledge allegiance to the flag and how they had us all doing that. And I remember being a little kid and I was super patriotic. Remember, I always used to say that I was such a patriot and everything. And I would see these kids who were not from America, or that, usually they were like foreign kids or like Russian or something. And they wouldn't do the Pledge of Allegiance. And I used to just be so mad, and my logic was probably pretty sound for a kid. But I would say, your parents moved away from your hellhole of a country to come over here. You should pledge allegiance to the flag that gave you the freedom to sit here in this class on this school day. You know what I mean? Like, I used to feel like that you deserve to, everyone should pledge allegiance to the flag. And like, if you don't, you're an idiot or whatever. Like, that's literally what I thought. And that's part of that, like I said, that global war on terror, that early 2000s era propaganda. And that stuff basically, had a lot of people brainwashed. But yeah, the Pledge of Allegiance is actually really dark when you think about it, because we're basically saying, as young Americans, that we choose to give all of our power, all of our energy, all of our time, all of our purpose in life to this country, to this flag, and the nation on which it stands, to the republic on which it stands, or for which it stands, or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I don't pledge allegiance to a republic. I pledge allegiance to the kingdom. They're not the same thing. Representative government where you vote and look at how bad that turned out. This place sucks. Cage Fighter says, you look like an Olympian with all that red, white, and blue. Yeah, like it's somehow I managed to pull off something that seems like it's patriotic. We're in season. It's the 4th of July on Friday. A lot of people have stuff going on. I'm actually going to be in a parade, which is crazy. I'm not going to say where this is, but I am going to be in a parade on Friday as part of like a work thing. I'm actually the boombox. It's the best job in the parade. I get to hold the big boombox, playing the music for our little parade group as we're going through. We're basically trying to, show off the importance of the place. I'm really excited. It was fun last year when we did it, and I just started working there. But now I've been here for a while, so I'm pretty cool with everybody, so it should be a lot of fun. I'm really excited to be out there dancing and going. Madeline's going to report you. What did I do? What was it that I did this time? Oh, I probably... You know what? It's funny because we're not going to get too into it, but I've been accused of terrorism before, that I was an Antifa terrorist. And it's funny because this episode opens with me basically talking about how I seized this American flag from the clutches of Antifa and... Oh, my parade of terror. I'm in the parade. Oh, I talked about the boombox too, man. Yeah. I love it, man. I know, I never even thought about it, but half the stuff that comes out of my mouth could totally be misconstrued as terroristic and whatever. Maybe that's why I started a cult, because otherwise people would say I was some kind of a crazy cultist telling everybody all this weird stuff about how Christians should rule the world. And I mean it. I really do, dude. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of looking and there's some bug-eyed judge looking, oh, they let the criminal off. Get out of here, you reptile. I'm sick of this shit. America is supposed to be a beautiful place. And when you look at the Niagara Falls, it reminds me of that old famous quote from Abraham Lincoln who said, "Ah, yes, Niagara Falls is the beauty of this place that was once looked upon by those famous giants who walked the land in the years before." What was that Abraham Lincoln quote? Abraham Lincoln Giants quote. Abraham Lincoln, he's an American staple. We'll go over here. I can't spell, but it works. The eyes of that species of extinct giants whose bones fill the mountains of America have gazed upon Niagara as ours do now. What? No, man. I'm not a fan of that Abraham Lincoln character, as some of you know. Flame Hookie says, you'll be censored, unalived if you get too close to exposing the establishment. I think the establishment has exposed itself. I think that the censored part is already happening, and the unalived thing is, well, I don't know. I don't know if they would unalive me, but I've talked about this before, and this is going to sound bad, but you know what? Go ahead. Get me out of here, bro. I know exactly where I'm going when I'm dead, and it's better than this. So we'll see what happens. I'm pretty bold. I'm pretty confident. The worst thing that'll happen is that my life gets ruined. It's not that they'll kill me. I lose my job or something. That's what'll actually happen. They're like, you gotta find a new job. Okay, fine. Truth Unfiltered YT, what's up, my brother Rev? Welcome in. He says, I'm listening, but I was just thinking, I wish I had hair. Oh, you bald too? I'm not bald, but I know many are bald. That's what I mean. I'm surprised I even have hair right now, but you know, my mom's side of the family carries the male pattern baldness, and it's prevalent, but apparently I didn't get it. We'll see. My dad's dad passed away with a full head of hair. He passed away younger than he should have. I wish he was with us today, but hey, the genes are pretty strong. We'll see. Pretty fluffy. Well, it's kind of stiff right now, but thank you once again, Sammy, for the haircut. I really appreciate it. It has been so much better having the breathability and not being so hot, and then plus the AC. You guys are the best. It was crazy hot in here yesterday, and if I hadn't gotten the AC hooked up, it would be crazy in here right now. But it was actually cold when I started. I was actually cold. So I was like, I'm going to kill it. We'll let it go. I'll be up here for 2 hours. No big deal. And hopefully it won't be too hot by the time the stream's over. But we're past the heat of the day anyway, right? So we're just rolling in on that second hour right now. So that's pretty awesome if you ask me. I'm going to grab a drink of water. Now that I'm realizing it's halfway, I've just been blah, 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 blah for an hour. It's wow, I don't know how I do it. I think I was meant to do this, though. That's really how I feel about it. When I was a kid, I always used to make weird, dumb videos and put them on the internet. I've had multiple eras in my life where, as a little kid, we made videos with the little digital music movie creator thing. And then when I was a younger teenager, I made screamo songs and scene kid vlogs. And then I tried to do this whole Outpost thing where we thought we were hip hop, and we lived in a nasty trailer and stayed up all night smoking with the windows closed and stuff. Just terribly destructive. And now here we are. I guess we're in the latest iteration of video creation. And this is the main character podcast, I guess. So let's go. So I've been thinking about getting a pair of these Google goggles or Google glasses. Google goggles? That's what they should be called. I guess that's a lot to say, Google goggle. They've been making these Google glasses that have a camera, a 12 megapixel camera on them, and they're augmented reality, so you can have overlays. And I've been thinking about using them to vlog or to capture my daily life in some instances, because there are things that happen that are crazy. I got to tell this story that happened from the other day. My brother and I were driving to the store. We were just driving up there. It was nothing out of the ordinary. We were reminiscing on the town we grew up in and how we used to mob around the town. It's a small town, so as kids, you could walk around on foot, and it wasn't dangerous or anything. I mean, not generally. And we would walk all over the place. We'd ride bikes around, but there was a big highway kind of split through the town, and we would usually stay on one side of the highway and didn't really venture very far. And then as we got older, we had friends who, lived up there, and we all went to the same school. So we would start crossing the highway and heading out to the other half of town, I guess that's the west side or something, I don't know. And we would go over there and march all the way out there, and my brother and I were talking about it. We're like, oh, yeah, we go hang out with my old buddy Daniel. And as we were sitting there, I was reminiscing about another friend of ours, this guy called Brett, who I haven't seen in 15 years. And I was reminiscing about Brett and how his house was the farthest house away, and how, he had this dog, this attack dog. It was named Chopper. It was trained by actual, it was an actual attack dog, and it was really a scary looking German Shepherd dog. And he had this bike he left at my house, and he moved away really abruptly, and his parents wanted the bike, but they didn't want to come get it, and so my brother had to ride it there. There's just a lot of things going through my head, right? And we're pulling into the parking lot of the store, and I'm like, okay, store time. I got to get back on store train of thought. So get out of the car, I'm heading in. Oh, we got to get a few things out here at the grocery store. And as we walked in the door of the grocery store, the guy I was thinking of, this Brett guy, was walking right past me. It was I haven't seen this guy in years. I was just thinking about him randomly, thinking about his house, his dog, his bike. And then there the guy was coming out of the Safeway. It's like, what is that, man? Like, is that telepathy or is that main character syndrome? I should have had Google glasses on so that I could have been like, see what I'm talking about? Look at every light I come up to, red. Every time I think of anything, there the guy is at the store. He doesn't even live over here. I haven't seen that guy in years. I've been in that Safeway almost every night of the week for like 10 years. Where, what? I tend to think that there's some weird thing. Like, there's like a matrix. There really is a matrix. And it's like the more you know about it, the more it gets manipulated. Tries to prevent you from escaping. I don't know. Plain Hookie says, the devil drains your truth and instills fear and doubt. Where there's fear, deception will follow. Well, fear comes from not having trust in the Lord, right? Because obviously it's normal to have human reactions to things, to be worried about things and to wonder about how something will turn out or what will be the outcome or whatever. But fear comes from not knowing, and not knowing comes from leaning on your own understanding rather than trusting in the Lord. And so it makes sense that we are victims of fear when we don't trust God. But it's like, at what point, World War III was about to happen like 10 times in the last 10 years. And if you really let yourself get scared of it, it would be scary. There were chapters in my life where, like, back when I was a big patriot, and a Q follower, like looking at QAnon and stuff. And I would be like scared. I'd be like watching these reports and be like, man, the deep state, the black hat deep state, they're so evil. Like, how are we ever going to get past this? And they're like, you want to trust the plan, but then more bad events kept happening, and you just be like, what is going on? It's like a cycle of mind control and terror, right? Crazy. Pepe says, glitch, please. Mama Khan says, when landlines were a thing, it regularly happened that we'd be talking about someone and they would call. I know. I know that many people would relate to that. That's a crazy reality that used to happen all the time. So many people tell stories of that. Is it because that you can, like, is there a telepathic connection there that we just don't know about? Maybe we need to do an episode on telepathy, dude. Like, we need to figure this out, this voice-to-skull technology and stuff. Like, what if telepathy exists and we've all just, like, been dumb and not using it? Like, what if we could tap into it and actually, like, realize what it is? How could I know about that? Like, what made me think of that guy except for that his, like, energy was there? I didn't spawn him in. I'm not, like, a crazy narcissist who names their podcast the main character as if they're so important. I'm not like that. I'm just saying that, like, if you actually had the power to, like, manifest reality, then I manifested a whole ass dude. I don't think that that's happening, man. I think he was there, and somehow I just knew he was there. And it was weird because it was like you could know other people were there, but because I know that guy from the past, I saw him, and it was like he saw me, and we both kind of, like, walked past each other, and there was obviously, like, one of those moments where it's like, was that who that was? But I was already walking, and he was already walking. You haven't seen a guy in 15 years. You don't want to be like, hey, are you this guy I used to know? To a stranger. And then it's like, not him. That's probably almost more embarrassing. Like, walk up to a random dude. You're like, hey, dude, are you, what's his name, from wherever? And it's like, no, that's not who I am. Oh, sorry, bro. I guess. If you were that serious, I just feel like a guy was trying to get his groceries. He was trying to buy something and head out of there, and if I recall, he had like a couple of kids. He had like a lot on his plate. So it's like, I'm a busy guy. I'm sure he's a busy guy. I didn't need to bother him. But it still happened, and it was weird. Oh, MK Ryan said, what if he had the same thing happen at the same time? Oh, like he was thinking, I remember that con guy. We used to be in that band in high school, and we used to, hang out over there and do jams and stuff. Like, he might have been. And then he saw me, and he was like, oh my gosh. He's like, there's that guy. And I think that I'm probably pretty recognizable. My beard's obviously bigger than it was in high school. I obviously didn't have a beard in high school yet, but I think I look mostly the same. I used to go around with like a hat on, kind of the same way that I do often. And I don't know. Man. He would probably recognize my red hair, my red beard. I don't know if my hair is red. My hair is kind of strawberry. My beard is much redder than my hair. That's just the way it turned out. Populist nationalism has a chance of pledging us to fakery. Okay, but yes, I think that's a great idea to segue, because populist nationalism is not kingdom, right? Because kingdom is essentially an ancient way of ruling and governance. It's a pretty much it's top down direct hierarchy. It's even like over the course of history we get words like tyranny, and we start to correlate them with negativity because they imply a rigidness. It's like, because there is a system of control and order and rigidity, it must be bad. And this kind of actually brings me back to the subject matter, which is this concept of freedom. Because this Luciferian principle of freedom, not only does it not exist in the universe in reality, so it's deceptive at its core, but on top of that, it's an ideology that bases on the idea that you're not accountable to anything, that you can do whatever you want, and that's just up to you. And that breeds ideas like these, like populist nationalism, where they say, well, we can do whatever we want. We should have the best for ourselves, right? And that's not Christ's narrative. Christ's narrative is not segment yourselves off from everybody else. You know what I mean? He wants us to all be one together with him in the kingdom, and that's a very different system than like a nationalism ideology that's populism. It's actually monarcho-populism or monarcho-nationalism or something, but it's central around the monarchical figure. It's not about people and what the people want. It's about what the king says, and that generally is watered down into other lower, lesser kings, right? You have like the main high king, and then you'll have regional governments, a magistrate or some kind of a leader. And then again, these systems of government are completely the antithesis of the United States, like representative government or populism movements. Like those kinds of things, those only play out in circumstances where you have the quote-unquote freedom to be able to go as a populace and change things on a fundamental level, and that's just not the way it is in a monarchy. And I think that's the reason why God and Christ, the reason the hierarchy steps down in that way is so that there isn't an ability to change the way things are, because it's the change of the way things are that has brought about the corruption of the world, right? When God made the world, he made it a certain way, and he saw that it was good, and then he did more to it, and he saw that it was good. And it's almost like if you were crafting something yourself, and you did like the first step, let's say you're building the house, like they put in the foundation, the inspection, the foundation was good. They put in the floorboards, the framework, they put in together like the skeleton structure of the house. Inspectors came, they saw that it was good. Then you move on to the interior stuff, the drywall, insulation, and all this plumbing and electrical, and all this stuff goes in, and you finish out the house, and then final textures, paint. But, each step along the way of this process is an inspection to determine whether it was good or not. And so God made the world and inspected it and saw that it was good. So anything that's a change to that has corrupted it and destroyed it, which is the reason why monarchy is the chosen government of God, because he's not putting it up for selection. He's not giving you the freedom to decide to destroy the earth, right? And even when I talk about, Christian dominion, I'm not talking about us individually deciding how things go. I'm talking about us enforcing God's way of how things should go. That's what the whole idea is, and I think that's kind of a different idea because it transcends nationalism, because we're talking about, I guess you could say it's nationalist, but it's a nation of people that's not of this earth, right? The Lord's Prayer, he talks about his kingdom, his will be done, his kingdom come on earth just as it is in heaven, which is what God is trying to do, right? That's why he made mankind, so that we would be his kingdom on earth just as it is in heaven. And we have come a long way with this United States thing. It's hard to say exactly what the origin of this country is. When we look at the world from the perspective that history is fake or that we've been lied to such a great extent, it sounds to me more often like what's happening is that our history is not correct, right? The founding fathers and such it's kind of a wishy-washy story to begin with. I think what we probably have is a central continent to which the main authority of Christ was being sent out to the rest of the world. We talk about the gospel being taken to the ends of the earth and so forth. It's my belief that based on multiple pieces of evidence that what is likely the case is that the North American continent is actually the location of a lot of biblical history. And what probably ends up happening is that after this whole spread of the millennial kingdom with the return of Christ in 70 AD and such. All of that taking place made this like the central hub of Christianity in the world. And then it spread out from here to the rest of the world. And with that system of power came the New World Order at the end of the Millennial Kingdom, where the United States is kind of the central point of the world's progress and direction, being spread outward in an outward influence in just the same way as it was likely even during the time prior to Christ, where Romans and other ancient empires of the world propagated their influence, power, and law on the rest of the world. I would think the United States continent, the North American continent, is likely probably one of the oldest populated continents. And there's a lot to be said about that. But what I'm getting at is that because the United States is so old and so special, I think that's why we have this narrative that it's the new world, right? They say that America's the new world. It's the newest country in the world. It's like the newest continent discovered by anybody. It's the most recent iteration of that. I guess you could say Australia. But in the same way that they've made up America's history, I think they've made up Australia's history too. And the point I'm trying to make is just that, and Wendy and I have talked about this before, America's the only country on earth that's like, I mean, it's less so nowadays, but it was a Christian country. Like there was a point in history where it was like, America is a Christian nation, and it's like even if it's not real, the tale is that the founding fathers were Christians, and it's a nation that should be built on God, and and like I know I know what they're trying to say, but the narrative was that this is America, a Christian country, and up until very recently, it was generally that most people were Christians in America. And of course, we've been doing progressive things to increase the amount of like Muslims in the country and people who aren't from here who bring their own belief systems from far away, and to each their own, right? Because that's what freedom is all about. But ultimately, it's like America has a history that's different than the one we're taught. And America is ultimately like the only country left on earth that really had a Christian start and still has a strong Christian backbone. Even though there's all kinds of corruption, it doesn't take away from the institution. Christianity in America is one of the most powerful juggernauts in the world. If you separated everything into segments based on the sector in which they operated, Christianity is technically in the entertainment sphere, and it's far bigger than like Hollywood or anything else. People have no idea the amount of power and influence that Western American Christianity wields in the West from all of their endeavors and all of their property and all of their systems. And all of that is bent on the idea that people want Jesus, and so they go to the church to get Jesus, but they don't find him there. They find churchianity, and it's crazy. But that's really where that whole freedom principle, the Luciferian freedom principle, comes from, because it's about giving you the idea that you don't need to be held to a higher standard. It means that it's okay for everybody to do whatever they want. And freedom, yeah, like I said, I opened up by saying how much I appreciate the freedom to be able to go over to the mini mart and buy a Sprite can or whatever, and how much I appreciate being able to decide what kind of career path I want to have or what I want to say on YouTube tonight with my friends. That kind of freedom is good. But the kind of freedom that we're sold with the idea of this country, the kind of freedom we keep falling back on is justification for why we do everything that we do, why everything has to happen the way it does. Oh, we've always got to blow up this, that, and the other one. We've always got to pay for this, that, and the other bomb, because it's how we preserve freedom. And freedom is so important because it's freedom that gives you all these things. And I argue that it's not freedom that gives us all these things. It's God that gives us all these things. We shouldn't pledge allegiance to the flag. We should pledge allegiance to the guy, to the king, because it's through him that we have anything at all. We get caught up in this idea that we're supposed to be a nation of democracy and of representative government. And we forget that God made us for a different purpose. And the reason why America sucks is because we're not operating on that purpose. We're operating on some man-made ideologies, some like ideas about how, well, if we don't preserve freedom, then the world will get worse. But the reality is that freedom is what's making the world worse. It's this idea that anybody can do whatever they want and they're not held to account for anything. It's a wild notion. Doctor Who says, did you see the Christian light meme I sent you? I don't know. Maybe I did. I'm just horrible at replying, so I probably saw it, laughed, and then headed on with my day, probably, because that's just how I am. I'll check it. Is that an Instagram inbox? I'll check it out later, brother. No worries. But yeah, the freedom principle is definitely one that has always been kind of a contention for me, because I've always wanted people to be able to do what they want. Like, as someone who hated injustice more than anything, when you experience injustice, you look at the system of power that enabled the injustice and you want to destroy it. I mean, that's the righteous way to feel. Like when Christ came into the temple and he saw all of these people operating in a system of injustice, using the temple to sell their wares as a marketplace. He was infuriated because, before Christ's great work is complete, the house of the Lord is still the temple. He hadn't fulfilled the promise that makes the house of the Lord the temple of man. He hadn't restored man to being the temple of the Lord, right? And so he was angry that his father's house had been turned into a dang marketplace, and so he turns the tables, he whips their ass, he's not playing around, he takes their wealth, he redistributes it. You know what I mean? And so there was a point in Christ's life where he too saw the structure, the system of power that was enabling injustice, and he was angry, justifiably, and he destroyed it. He was right. And I think that there are times for us to feel that way as Christians, to identify an infrastructure and say that infrastructure allows bad people to do bad things, and there are times to tear that infrastructure down. That is a fact. But I think that what we should also understand from the mindset of kingdom people, of a dominion mindset, is that institutions and infrastructure are just highways. They're just conduits. All they are is a method. It's a means to an end, and it's those who use the tool for evil who are to blame for the evil that results. So we should never disable ourselves for the purpose of disabling the enemy. The highway should be ours. The conduit should be ours. The airway should be ours. We shouldn't be afraid of systems of power. We should be in charge of systems of power. That's where the enemy gets their power, is that we don't do anything to the last thing the enemy wants to do is keep building stuff that you are going to use against him. So the investing in the infrastructure of whatever it is, this freedom mentality thing, it's all designed to be a vehicle that allows bad behavior to take place, both on like a personal level and legally as a nation. And if you reject that system, then you disable your own ability to choose the right thing. What we need to do is disable the bad behavior, disable the enemy. So I always think about it logistically, like freedom doesn't mean anything. So if freedom is an illusion and not real, we shouldn't have anybody fighting for it or arguing for it. Whenever I see freedom on the table, it's like freedom to choose, like I need to be allowed to murder my kid or something. It's like, that's not right. We should be able to identify that the word freedom is fraudulent. Because even the people who go, like, let's say this, you die for the country, you go die for this country in war or whatever, and then you come back and it's not what you thought it was, right? The conflict wasn't what you thought it was, the experience over there wasn't, and then you come back and then in America you realize that you don't even have like the rights that you thought you had and went and fought for. This is like the greatest cause of veteran suicide. The negative experience, the lack of fulfillment, and the reality setting in that you went and fought and died for oil and corporations and elite billionaires, and it's horrible. And so people, they don't want to be alive anymore. My brother's lost a ton of friends that way because it's hard to adjust back into a world that's not what you were taught, that it was something different. You were taught that there was freedom, that there was honor, that there was glory in this flag and in this country, and it didn't deliver because it wasn't the real deal. And if we can't get people out of this illusion of freedom and into the order of righteous kingdom behavior, well, it's only going to continue to get worse. Because they'll continue to justify killing babies for freedom, or blowing up kids in other countries for freedom, or sending our money to another country that blows up kids for freedom. And don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about American freedom all the time. I'm talking about freedom as a notion, as a principle, is delusion. When we look at the nation of Israel, a perfect example, their freedom is on the table. They're concerned about their freedom and their existence as a country. So that's why they blow people up in other countries. They're to secure their freedom. And if we use freedom as the justification, we could justify a bunch of bad behavior using the idea that we need to be free to do whatever we want to do because it's arbitrary. I just don't want to be held to account. I don't want to be responsible for my actions. That's what freedom is actually about. That's the actual Luciferian principle of freedom, is that I don't need you, God. I don't need to be told what to do or how to live. I don't need your eye on me. I want to be free of that influence. That's what freedom is. And we've all been sold a lie from the day we were born in this nation. Some of us, some people are not from here. Congrats. Hope yours is better than ours. Hope your indoctrination worked out better than ours. But yeah, I want to be clear that, like, this is not the way out. The solution to the world's problems is not the freedom to decide this, that, or the other thing. The solution to our problems is freedom from oppression, freedom from deception, freedom from delusion brought about by the enemy working against us. And that doesn't come from governments of men, governments made by man hands, flags designed with a certain number of, like, stars and things on them, like the pattern of the flag. I mean, there's all these ulterior motives and national treasure Nicolas Cage style conspiracies about the United States, but we don't have to go that far to recognize that this is not what God designed. America, the land of the free, the home of the brave. It's not what God made. It's something that people made up. And it lives in the shell of the former glory of this place that used to be here. You know, I was looking at this up the other day, and you guys are, it's great because, where is it? Is it Nashville? There's a, what's it called? A Pantheon? Or no, not a Pantheon. Parthenon, that's right. Nashville, dude. Hey, check this out. Okay, I was browsing around the other day, looking at Parthenons or whatever. And this is in Nashville, apparently, right? Look at this interior. I don't know if I've showed you guys this before, but it's just wild to me that there's a giant, I don't know if I can get a picture big enough to show you guys. Like, there are people standing in front of it, and they're tiny. It's enormous. It's huge. And, like, I don't know, maybe I could be made a fool. Like, I could say, oh, they just built that. It was probably put in, like, two years ago. Oh, no, wait. This was built in 1897. I bet you they built it in 1 year. The 1990 recreation. Now, okay, hold on. It was part of the Tennessee Centennial Expedition. Or exposition. Guys, this is right on par with that whole, the America's actually an ancient empire and we're just living in the ruins of it. You know, this thing blew my mind. So wait a minute, am I just unable to read? Oh, okay, so the 1990 recreation of the statue is the main focus. So they built this thing in 1897, but then they put a statue in 1990, that big gold statue. Oh, okay. So they built it for the World's Fair, but then it like eroded because it was paper mache. So then they rebuilt it again in concrete in 1920, and then they remodeled it after they got rid of all the architecture that was inexplicable or something. This is like a classic old world expedition right here. We got our Civil War dressed guy. Oh, this is the guy who drew up the Parthenon copy. He drew that up real quick. The Mystery of Thanos or something. Wow. That's a classic one right there. But yeah, so I looked up that thing and I thought to myself, man, how is stuff like that just there in the United States and nobody talks about it? You know what I'm saying? How is it possible that we've got an actual a Parthenon in Nashville that's like as big as the real deal? Like it's utterly enormous. It's like inexplicably huge. Here's that giant gold statue of Ishtar or whatever it's supposed to be in there. You know, it's just crazy to me, man. And this is just, I think, another reminder that we need to remember that America is not what we were told that it was. And they built this whole thing on these principles that are not authentic either. And that's, I think, the root of where my patriotism kind of died off to the age, I guess. Because I realized that it wasn't just that the nation and the government and the flag and all those things were man-made, and so they were never going to deliver, because that is the truth. I did learn that. But I also realized in actuality that there never really was a United States the way they said it was. There never was a revolutionary war and this civil war and like everything they tell us about what makes America who it is today, like the country and all the things that it's like built on, and all these ideas about how there was nothing here and then settlers came and they carved it out, and they had to deal with native tribes of varying dispositions, and some that were friendly and some that were hostile, and some they did good to and some they robbed and mistreated, and it's all just, this is a bunch of BS, man. The whole thing, like we all were taught to fall in love with this country. How many people fought, bled, sweat, and died for this country, and it was a lie from the very beginning. That's crazy, man. And so, for me, it's not about living in the past or about like feeling sorry that America sucks. I think it's about understanding that this is the contrast, that there is a history here that's not what they say it is, and it's of a time when things were different and when things were better. And I think that we've been sold a lie about what that is. Imagine people still living here during the transition to the New World Order. They would have had to have kept some semblance of the world from the way it was before to prevent people from completely rejecting this new way of thinking, this new kind of post-kingdom reality. And I bet you all those ideas enshrined in the Constitution of the United States are ideas that existed before the fabricated United States ever existed. When you think about the idea of like life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, like we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men and women are created equal. That's the truth. Self-evident. God made everybody. Men and women equal. That we're endowed with certain inalienable rights. What is this? The preamble to the Constitution? Oh, that's in order to form a more perfect union. Anyway, the point is, maybe that's the issue. Yeah, in order to perform a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty. Is that what it says? I can't quite read it because it's like written in script. Like it's like a tiny thumbnail with a cursive script. The point is that there was some root of truth. There was something about the foundation of this country that was legit. That's how we got this far with it. Because there were people who really did believe in the value of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, just like they do today. And there were people who really believed in, like, the amendment rights, that people should have these things as a basic principle of understanding, that God wants you to be able to decide how you want to speak, what you want to believe, whether you should be able to defend yourself, whether you should be able to maintain your own property, your own dignity, the family, your life, your future. There's so many layers to that are actual truths. And somehow all of those truths, just like what I said about the church, like it started as something good, and over time it eroded and became something ugly. It became this kind of satanic, artificial, like a replacement. It reminds me of that scene in Indiana Jones, the very first one, Raiders of the Lost Ark. And he goes in that temple with the guy that plays Doc Ock. You know what I'm talking about? He gets like impaled by a spike or something. Because long story short. Anyway, Indy goes in there and he's got like the gold medallion thing sitting on the table, and he has a sandbag, and he like dumps out the sand until he thinks it's pretty close, and he like swaps it out, and like we went from a gold, I don't want to say we went from a gold idol because that's in context it sounds bad. The point is they had the treasure, and they got the treasure swapped for a sandbag, and even the dang stone tablet, the pedestal was smart enough to know that it had been ripped off, and it unleashed a big ass boulder to roll the guy down, you know what I mean? Darts are like spraying everywhere. It's really a cinematic experience. And I think that that's something that we should relate to. We should be able to see things from that perspective and say, our treasure has been swapped for a bag of sand and it's not even the right weight. We have been robbed blind from the idea of freedom. Freedom is supposed to be release from oppression from villains. The satanic oppression is at an all-time high, and we may not see it because we can go and buy Sprite. I go into a mini-mart, and there's nothing but shelves of Sprite. There's only Sprite. But then I get to do what I want about it because I have some semblance of choice. But the freedom, the oppression, it's still there. You can call it whatever you want. Sales tax, gas tax, breath tax, tax. It doesn't matter. I just got through paying an entire month's wage or whatever. That's an exaggeration, but whatever. I just paid an enormous amount of money just to put metal plates with numbers on them on the back of my car. Come on. You know, it gets to the point where you realize you are living in a cage, man. And that's the least of it. The real oppression is the people on the other side of the world who are like, their whole city is an ash heap. They've got nothing to live for. And all they want to do is cross the wasteland to get to the food tent where they say, if you can come here, you can get food. And then you're just like gunned down by military as you're unarmed. You're blown up by an airplane. That happens all the time over in other parts of the world. The satanic oppression is everywhere. And it breaks my heart, man. Like, how can we say that freedom is real when it only exists for a certain class of people with a $20 million watch? You know, that guy can do what he wants. He can ride where and go. You know, what's even more fraudulent about the whole thing is not just that freedom isn't what they say it is. It's that it's not even real for anybody except them. The elites of the world are the only ones who really have freedom. It's like, oh, America, the land of the free. Only those elites who can decide where they want to go on vacation this year, or whether they want to get up this morning, or whether they want to wear the $20 million watch or the 10. You know what I mean? Now, I'm not saying that that's right. That people have a drawer full of houses or lifetimes worth of money. Like, that's beside the point. What I'm getting at is it's not real because it's not even available to everybody here. Even in the place where it's available, it's not really available. It's a lie. And I'm just kind of over it, man. If freedom can never be real because it's the antithesis to the actual matrix of the universe, which is that God made the world and everything has a reason that it exists, everything has a purpose, it takes away that abject kind of accidental cosmic circumstance, happenstance, right? Because the world is not a big bang that just accidentally happened. Things didn't just happen in a vacuum like that. And so everything has a reason that it happens. Everything has a purpose, and there's weight to that. There's no freedom in that. It's a complicated construct with 1,000 different levers and buttons and lights, but that doesn't mean it's fluid. It's rigid. Who you are, what you were made for, you can't change that. You can screw it up. You can fight it. You can deny it, but you can't change it. And so it's a tragedy that anyone in the world should lose their soul to a life of mammon. You know, to what is as good as it that a man gains the whole world and loses his own soul? I think that's Jesus Christ himself that said that. So here's a whole world of stuff that you might gain, $20 million watch, but you lose the part of you that matters. The only thing that's a real treasure, evidently enough of a treasure that God sends his own son to die for it. For you. And that to me is just the true tragedy of it all, the true lie of freedom at all, is that you're trying to run from solution. You're trying to run from salvation. Free from what? Free from peace? Free from order? Free from unity? Kingdom and righteousness? You know, if Christ tells us that we seek the kingdom and righteousness and everything else is added to us, freedom will be on that list if it's real, if it's virtuous, if there's let every good thing be a gift from God. Every good and precious thing is a gift from God, I think. I'm just like ad-libbing scripture. It's funny, but it's true. It's like the truth of the Bible is the truth of the Bible. I mean, you don't really need to get hung up on the pages. The pages matter for research and for reproof. But the wisdom remains. I'm just grateful that the Lord's given me enough of it that I can tap into it sometimes and remember where we're at in this whole crazy thing. Because it seems like sometimes like it's totally off the rails, you know? David Salvatore says, main reason I voted for the 30 plus years was to get Roe v. Wade reversed. When I finally saw that our vote did actually nothing, I walked away from their evil witchcraft casting spells. Amen, my friend. Yeah, it's not going to be like a instant wake up for everybody. I mean, it took me like a lot of time and I was looking. Maybe it's better that we keep in mind to be patient with people. You know, I see a lot of impatience and I've been guilty of it too, where it's like, here we are. It's the, it's the 2025. It's like, who knows what actual year it is? I don't know. But after everything we've been through, I've learned a lot. And one of the things I think we should learn is to be at least a little more understanding about why people are the way they are. because there's a system at play here. It's not just an accident. Like I said, it's not just a cosmic happenstance. So at the same time that everything is made in a system that we can't escape, that's rigid and ordered, and you must choose a master for eternity type deal, it's very inescapable that the freedom isn't even really there, except for freedom from oppression in Christ, freedom from sin in Christ, freedom from death in Christ. I mean, those are freedoms that are real. And so you should also have the choice to choose, right? I mean, you should the ability to choose whether you serve one of two masters, but you must, right? You must choose. Choose this day whom you will serve, right? That's the narrative, because time is of the essence. Any day could be your last day. You know, I think about this all the time, that, like, you know, you could do everything right, take good care of your family and have a great job and work out and really, you know, for whatever reason, you know, you look in the mirror and you want to see like a stacked alpha, or you want to be the guy who's like the corporate winner, or you want to just take care of your family, you want to win, you do everything right, and then everything can be taken away from you. And this is a terrible story, but there was these people who were they were throwing a party at this like event center thing, you know, birthday party, and some drunk lady like lost control of her car and came driving to the building, like ran a bunch of people over. It was a terrible tragedy. And the father of those kids that were run over found out and like it was the body cam from the police coming to his work to tell him that his family had perished in this horrible tragedy. And he was just like rolling around in denial at maximum level of upsetness. And it's a terrible, terrible reality. And that's the way this world works. There's no freedom from that. There's no freedom from the rigidness that life and death are in an instant in this place, that nothing is promised to us. Nothing's guaranteed here in this life. Nothing. Only the way, the truth, and the life. That's what's guaranteed to us. What comes after. And so because life is so fragile and so immediately shattered, we have to think about that in the way that we live our life. How much time do we waste on foolish, meaningless things because of the idea of freedom? Well, I want to do what I want to do, right? Do as thou wilt, so to speak. And yet we do that, and then what is the result? I see another day wasted on something useless. I've been guilty of it myself, don't get me wrong. I do it all the time. I sometimes wonder if I'm making the most of my day. Am I doing the best that I can with the time that I have? It's one of those things where, I mean, that's why you need Jesus to point the way, to be the truth and the life that we want to live, that we have to live. You know, freedom isn't free, they say. That's the narrative of the old American picture, that it's going to cost you something, that in order for liberty to exist, that the tree of liberty must be watered periodically with the blood of tyrants and patriots. Maybe there's some truth to that, but maybe we shouldn't be looking to the tree of liberty. Maybe we should be looking to the tree of life. Maybe that's the reason. Because the tree of life has already been watered by the blood of Christ Jesus. And so we're covered. Maybe that's the secret to the whole thing, right? That the whole principle is built on the tree of liberty having to be watered by the blood of tyrants and patriots, when we should be looking at the tree of life. It's the actual revelation. I was going to say at the start of the show tonight, there's not going to be any revelation tonight, guys. I'm just here to hang out. But that's the revelation. Because the tree of life has already been watered by the blood of Christ Jesus. Your debt is paid. So we don't owe anything to this hellscape. I'm sorry. You know, America was cool when it started. The idea. Maybe like the 1890s when they were building freaking like giant ziggurats or whatever that is. What is that thing? The Nashville Parthenon. They were building stuff like this in the 1890s. America was a cooler place back then. It was different. And now it's not. Now it's not that. It's not that cool. So I think that we are in an incredible time in history, and I would argue from this perspective, and it's something I'll argue all the time because I'm really a firm believer in this idea of Christian dominion, the Christian dominion movement. I'm big on it. If you didn't get a chance, go and check level 48 last week's episode. I talked about it in detail, but it's like the Bible doesn't really tell us what happens, in terms of if we're living in one time or another time. Chapters come and go where there's no details in the gaps. We're just here. We might be in the time before. We might be in the time after. We might be somewhere in the middle somewhere. And those timeline things matter, but they don't really decide. They don't change who we are or when we are in terms of our focus, our function, our purpose. Because we're still supposed to serve the Lord. We're still supposed to be members of his kingdom and live that out in our lives no matter what era or timeline it is. And sometimes I wonder if I had this idea come to mind earlier. I was talking to Wendy about it. It's like, what if God making a new heaven and a new earth isn't some sort of magic event? What if it's not like God goes poof and the earth disappears and then he makes a new one? What if God makes a new heaven and earth through his people on the earth? Like, what if we're, it sounds crazy the moment you're living in it, right? Like, the Bible, there were these things going on and Jesus Christ was like on the earth. And it was like, you tell St. Peter, hey, man, we're going to be reading all your stuff later. You tell Paul, hey, by the way, don't forget to make a couple copies of those letters, my friend, because we're all going to be studying what you're saying in 1,000 or 2,000 years. Like, nobody knows the gravity of what they're actually doing now. So just let yourself believe for a moment that maybe God actually has a purpose for your life here in this time. Maybe we are going to do it for him, through him. Maybe God doesn't magically just create a new heaven and earth. Maybe we live it out. Maybe this Christian dominion movement is real. Maybe we finally decide enough BS, enough of that dang tree of liberty. I'm breaking out the Sawzall because apparently I use a hacksaw to cut down trees in my yard, and that is what we're going to do. No more blood sacrifice from tyrants or patriots. I think it's pretty good. I think it's possible that we could actually overcome the systems of deception through the truth. That Jesus Christ, being the way, the truth, and the life, could be that truth that sets us free from all the deceptions, including freedom, the false belief that we could actually do whatever we want and somehow that's going to work out. It won't. And you can get nitty gritty about it and be like, if it's a free-for-all, survival of the fittest, Neil deGrasse Tyson, spaceball BS, that means that I can just loot whoever I want because it's just a survival game and it doesn't matter. You die and you become dirt. Not before I take all your possessions. You know what I mean? Like, that's just not about doing a gladiatorial PvP server because some dumbass guy who's named after chicken nuggets wants to tell me what to think. I'm not doing it, bro. So I'm just to the point where I think that we're advancing on some territory that's truly dangerous because we're realizing that stuff like freedom is another layer of the deception. It's not just the shape of the thing, the ball or whatever, It's not just the shape of the realm or who made it, which is of course very important. But it continues. There are layers to it. Its ogres are like onions, man. There's more lies on top of lies, and we're used to doing that. We're used to digging a lie and then being like, oh, another one. DJ Khaled. Another one. Yeah, it's like we're literally to a point where we are trained to know better than this. Every time I find myself getting caught up in one of these things, one of these, like America, I'm realizing, dang, I bought into another deception. We can never start to think we're too good to be tricked, that we're too smart to be lied to. Because they'll try. Believe me, they'll try. I've never seen so many narcissists who think they're smarter than you and me out here running their mouths on the internet, lying about everything, TV, news hosts. Remember when that, it kind of goes into what, I think it was, maybe it was Pet Bear. One of you guys brought up the whole Epstein thing, and we had that moment like a couple of weeks ago where Cash Patel and Dan Bongino came out and just were like, oh, no, he killed himself. We covered that on the show a little bit, I think, because they're just the preposterousness of it. They just come right out and just lie right to your face. They don't even care at all. And it's just because it's not what it's it's not what it's chopped up to be. Is that the correct expression? It's not all it's cracked up to be. I don't know what something would be chopped up to be. I don't know, vegetables. I don't know. Vegetables get chopped up into onions. You could dice your onions. And you can see through the layers right there. Cut to the quick, the cutting edge. Get to the root of what's really happening in this world. Find it, the way, the truth, and the life. You know, it's like Jesus says, he is the true vine, right? That means he is coming from the root, which is the source, which is God. And if we are branches on the vine, grafted into the vine, you know, and he prunes us and trims us and makes us who we are, it's all part of that same analogy. The tree of life, man. Jesus Christ, the Son of God, who brings life, who conquers death. Man, I don't know how I didn't see this. There should have been a cool thumbnail for this video where it shows like a shriveled, ugly tree with like blood dripping out of it. And then it shows like a nice, beautiful tree. And then it's like tree of life versus tree of liberty. Tree of liberty is like an evil thorny bush, dude. Tree of liberty is like it's a sticker bush. It like makes you think that you're going to get some kind of a flower or some kind of a berry out of the deal. And instead you just get stabbed to hell. That's basically what's happening. Oh, my yard is full of blackberry bushes. I got to get out there and do some damage to them myself. But think about it. It's like that. We've got a deceptive weed posing as something beautiful. There's no fruit coming from that tree of liberty. It's rotten. Man, I wish I would have known sooner. Think about how much time I wasted thinking that America was the answer to all of our problems. That if we just put America first, the world would become a better place. Man, even if you did do that, it wouldn't fix the problems. You could make America the richest 1950s. You could have it be that what's that one guy who painted all those amazing paintings of like, idealistic America. You know, you see the Saturday Evening Post. You know what I'm talking about? Like, what is that? The Saturday Evening Post. It's Norman Rockwell, right? Yeah. You guys remember these, probably. And there'd be all these, like, illustrations of 1900s America and, like, the 50s and all this. And it was all just this idealized version of reality that was a world that was different than where we are today. You look at, like, the work of that guy. What's he? It's Norman Rockwell, isn't it? I can't type. This is the idealized version, I suppose, the artwork of this gentleman and others, you know, stuff like this. You used to see like, oh, he's a nice old beat cop just sitting there at the diner talking to some kid about something. Kid's got his little bag with his goodies in there. He's on a trick. I don't know, that kid's like taking his pants off in the doctor's office. Not sure what's going on there. I don't know if that's idealized. Anyway, but yeah. It's just weird to have thought that America was a wonderful and great place. And it's crazy to think that for so long I bought into it. And I know that it's not like, oh, you know, it's like I said, America's still the best place. But that's, I think, the saddest narrative of all. That not only is freedom a lie and America's not what we thought it was, but even as bad as it is really, it's still the best we've got. And if anything, that should be a sad awakening to everybody. That freedom was never the answer to our problems. What we needed was righteousness, which is order. You know, it's like I need like a mustache and a podium. I need to be out here like, the answer was never freedom. The answer was order. Like, you know what I mean? Well, you can't sit at me and I can have a mustache for it and everything. Maybe this generation's H-man has a red beard. Maybe, like, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, he's a cult leader. He dares think that you should have a life of prosperity and righteousness. Hand in hand. Whew. I love Wednesday night, dude. I really do. It's like I sometimes get tired, you know, it's the end of my day. You know, hump day. Trash day. Let's not forget that it's trash day. But yeah, I get here and I'm like, man, I'm tired. But then I get here and I'm like here with you guys. And it's like, dude, Wednesday makes sense to me, man. It's like, it's just a little window into a world of sensible people and sensible times. I think that's what cults are really about at the end of the day. Being able to go into a quiet place with the people you know who agree with you about that stuff, who know the secrets of the universe, right? If you want to toot your own horn, you can tell yourself exactly what you want to say. You got to say what you got to say, but I'll say that the truth is that you were fearfully and wonderfully made by a God who loves you. You know, that your life exists for a purpose and you're here for a reason, every one of us. And we joke around a lot. And I know that sometimes we get all caught up in the craziness of it all, but it's like we're really, really inside a very important construct. Things exist in a manner of, it's intentional, you know, that we're here. And I really think that there's nothing more important than knowing that, because it sets you free in reality. It sets you free from all these worldly reasons why you're existing that don't get it. They don't pay out, you know. And I've seen it, man. It's like that guy, his whole life, his whole reason for living was because of that wife and those kids. And then some drunk lady just plows to the side of the building and takes that away from you. And then what do you live for? It doesn't mean shirk your responsibilities, but like sometimes at my job, I got to leave behind the regular cleaning tasks because today I'm rolling a vinyl baseboards in on a couple of the rooms in there, and I got to like put the adhesive on, I got to roll them, I got to shave the corners so they make a good 45-degree angle. I'm over here doing something different than mopping. Sometimes mopping has to go to the side for a minute. It doesn't mean abandon your kids. My floor is dirty now, man. It's not like we're going to lose our responsibilities. It's not like we're going to lose our current calling. But the Lord has greater things for us than just making it, or just being a parent, or just having a YouTube show, right? Like we're looking at a universe that's about more than what we can accomplish in just one life. You know, Miles Monroe always used to say, you'll never afford your destiny on your salary. And that's because there's no job that can give you the energy or the power or the money or the juice to do what God wants you to do. You know, when God sent Moses in to get his people out of Egypt, Moses didn't have the means to get them out. He just had the command to do it. And when I look at the world and I think about our position here, I think about America, the land of the free, the home of the brave, and how important it is that we lead the rest of the world in everything that happens. If there's any place to fight for, if there's any area, any territory that should lead the charge, any nation of people that should be the one that sends the message to the rest of the world that we're done simply giving in to evil and allowing evil to exist as it is. We're done being sold the lie of that blood sacrifice tree of liberty. We're done with the tree of liberty. We're cutting it down and we're planting the tree of life in our vineyard. We're going to be grafted onto that branch. We're going to be a nation of people who live righteously because order is better than freedom. And I don't care if anyone wants to argue otherwise. You guys have had your chance. Y'all had 250 years to bury everything, erase our history, blow everybody up in multiple wars. You had your chance. It's over. The Christian Dominion movement has come to town. The party bus has rolled into the station. And you guys know that means that we're not going to go anywhere except destination kingdom. And I'm not trying to leave until the job's done. If the Lord says the day is done, you can leave. You go home. I'm shot by an assassin. I'm poisoned. I'm blown up with a bomb or something. Whatever they do to me, fine. If the Lord says I'm off, if my shift is over and I clock out, that's it for me. But our mission never changes. Our job is to do right by this kingdom, to embrace it, to change in our hearts and minds and live it in our minds and hearts and expand that out into the world. So we used to think our duty was ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. That is a distortion. Ask not what the kingdom can do for you. Ask what you can do for the kingdom, because Jesus Christ has already paid your way. He's already got your ticket out of here. So if I'm here now, I'm on borrowed time. It's a free-for-all. You know what I'm saying? I'm inside the fence after dark. I'm ready to do some damage, man. And I don't mean that in a terroristic way, because everybody loves to think that about me. I mean, let's go, dude. Let's be the kind of people that ask the hard questions, that hold people's feet to the flame. Screw freedom. Let's have accountability. Let's have order. Let's have righteousness, because those are the things that come from God. Freedom, that's a lie made up from Satan, propagated by a bunch of weird, creepy Masonic pedophiles who founded this place, so to speak. And it continues on in the narrative, all the weird orange tyrant Zionists and all their crazy shit. Like, that is not freedom. I am so sick of that narrative, dude. If it ain't freedom for everybody, it ain't freedom at all. And I don't think you can pull that off, because there's no way I can be having full freedom next to somebody else who wants to like kill babies and stuff. That's not going to happen. It's incompatible. We're not a democracy, demon, the aristocracy of demons. No, not happening, not working. Look, I get it. The U.S. government would probably classify this line of speech as somehow like dangerous and bad. But all I'm saying is that we should be a Christian nation, right? Like America used to be. Is that all so bad? I don't think so. You can call it whatever you want. Whatever you want. And yeah, I mean, you can call it a country, call it a nation, call it a kingdom. What matters is the heart of it all. We were fearfully and wonderfully made. We're part of a special chosen group. This is what they'll call you a cult for, because like the cult leader says, you are a special chosen group. You have been selected. You've been hand selected just yourself in this time. Have been chosen for the Christian Dominion movement. Will you take charge? It's like a thing. Send your money order of $199.99 for the 6-disc DVD set. That we were laughing about it earlier. We saw a documentary called The UFO Conclusion, and we're like, oh, I didn't know it was concluded. The UFO conclusion? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know there was a 1-hour documentary that just told it like it was. I didn't know we were concluded. So we were laughing and we were like, okay. Well, then that means we can make the documentary called The Sasquatch Conclusion. It's like, tonight we'll be introducing evidence that will finally bury the hatchet on Sasquatch. And then we just like talk for 2 hours or an hour or whatever. And what conclusion is there about UFOs? That's it, man. Hilarious. Wow, it's already getting up to the hour, dude. 2 hours just like that. Wow. Hey, it's been a lot of fun, guys. I always enjoy Wednesday night hanging out with you guys. Wednesday, we're halfway through the week. I know some of our people in the other countries, they're living in the future right now. They're like 18 and 24 hours ahead right now. It's like Thursday midday or something right now. They're literally living in the future. I'm not sure how that works, but you know, greetings from the past. It would be cool if I was in the future sending messages to the past, and then they'd probably have some sort of value. But this is kind of like a really crappy, like 24-hour, what do they call it? Like a time capsule. Where you come back tomorrow and hear what was being talked about yesterday or last night in the universe in the other side of the dimension, which is this side of the circle of the Earth, which is currently behind the American flag, I guess, for this evening's show. I guess it's America after all. Yeah, so we got that parade coming up on Friday. Let's hope that I don't fry. I'm going to have to put on the Satanic sunscreen, which I don't want to do. I've heard that's not good for you, but I think being like 2nd-degree burn from hours in the direct sun's probably not going to be healthy for me either, so we'll see how that goes. And then obviously I got to remember to take out the trash. I bet Sam remembered to do it this time because it's been so bad, and it's a personal vendetta now because it's so bad. But I get the feeling a dump run is happening anyway. We don't have to load the truck and go because there's like 1,000 Amazon boxes and everything else you can imagine. Life is hard, okay? There's a lot of projects out there, but hey, we keep pushing forward in the right direction, right? I always say, trust God, do the work. Wait, that's not right. I got to use my fingers to talk about it. That'll help. Trust God. Take the risk. Do the work. Right? All right, guys. Anything else? Let's check in with chat. I've been kind of just ranting is what I do. It's like, well, it's great to see you guys. Blah, blah, blah. Chan, it's still running. But Pyramid says, I don't wear sunscreen. Been surfing for 15 years. I might need like a sun hat or something. I need like a 10-gallon. If I don't have some sort of a shield, I'll probably die. I don't know why I get sunburned. Maybe I need to do better of grounding or something. I'll have to maybe I need to have my hands and feet touching the real earth so that I can off charge the, I don't know. Brent says we're here for the rant. Yeah, that's all it is. It's a quick 2-hour rant. No big deal. A little something for you to take with you on the road. I know there's some people who drive truck and listen to the show while they're trucking, so I can only imagine what that's like. It's like, look out, lady! Get out of the left lane! Pearl says you need a big straw hat and grounding shoes. Yeah, I do. I need to become I need one of those rice patty hats. That'd be great. And then like wood shoes. Wait, wood shoes are not grounded. That wouldn't work. I need like those. You guys ever seen those like Mongolian moccasins that had these weird little like metal conductor plates in them? We should really try to like become the next brand like that changes the world with breathtaking revelations of things. Like imagine if you sold an entire line of shoes that were grounding shoes and they were designed to actually ground you. Like I know it's not unheard of, but we could start normalizing this stuff just like how they normalized like veganism and stuff. There was a period of time where like vegetarians were really frowned on, or some of these newer ideas are kind of contemporary, like fasting, intermittent fasting is kind of, not that fasting's not an ancient idea, but I mean, society has started to embrace some of these ideas like eating meat-free diets and fasting and all kinds of different health crazes. There's always some new trend, and like this is the opportunity basically to create new trends, and they could be one, you know, that called people to a higher standard or something. I don't know. I think it'd be cool. Like, yeah, like Pepe Silva's like copper plated, but maybe not entirely plated, but maybe like there's like little filaments or something, or coils in the shoe that make contact with the ground and with the bottom of your foot or the sides of your feet or whatever, just so that you're making a wired connection to the earth when you stand there as if you were barefoot, you know, to the best of your ability. Obviously, you know, nothing's going to beat being barefoot, but you can't be barefoot all the time. And I know that like concrete, for instance, that's like basically limestone. It's like natural. It conducts the same, you know, electromagnetic fields as any other stone. It's not like because it's poured concrete, it's somehow evil. You know, it's full of rebar, which is a ferrous metal, which is going to be a conductive material. So again, none of that is an issue. It's just that when you're on your feet all day in work boots, you're not grounded. And so it's like, I think about that all the time. Like I got sunburned really bad pressure washing recently, and I was wearing like rubber boots the whole day. And it makes me wonder if that had something to do with it. Like stacked, chunky, like rain boot style rubber boots. And I'm wondering if like, if I'd have been barefoot pressure washing, would I have just not been sunburned? And the same goes for our buddy here who was surfing, because it was like, maybe you're in the salt water, like you're conducting. So maybe you have a better chance to not get sunburned. Or maybe some people just have better melanin than I do. I don't know. Doctor Who says, eat fruit so you can poop your own fertilizer and plant trees as you walk in the world. Is that how we do it? We like are like elk now? Like we walk around the forest as crapping while we walk around? Is that how it goes? What about shoes with the bottoms cut out in them? New craze. Okay, yeah, so like reverse flip-flops. It's like, it looks like you're wearing shoes, but you're actually not. The only problem with that is that when you get a workplace injury and they find out you were deliberately not wearing the right footwear, they're going to be like, you're totally not getting workers' comp. You'd be like, you did this to yourself, bro. Oh, that's so funny. Darcy says, nah, I've been very burnt while in the ocean. Yeah, I agree. I've been burnt in every environment. I don't know if I'm immune. I think it's just, maybe certain ones of us do get targeted for inexplicable susceptibility to sunlight. Pyramid says, I just don't think the sunburn's as bad as they say. Well, I mean, I don't think that it just instantly gives you cancer. I think that after a while, you probably do build a pretty stout resistance, but I just was kind of a serious, what would you say, like a super nerd, like a shut-in. I spent years playing video games online with my brother, and we just like, I didn't do shit. So I was a serious shut-ins. I like didn't get sun for years. So I've only like in the last while started to become more like active and more out there and social and everything. So, I mean, my last sunburn from that pressure washing thing was the first like all day sun that I've gotten. And really, it didn't feel like it got burned much until later in the afternoon. I think if I had quit doing it a couple hours sooner, I wouldn't have even gotten burned. So you could probably get, you know, a decent exposure. You just don't want to get too much at once or it'll screw you up. Samantha Fox says, I mean, heat stroke combined with blistered sunburn suck. That's why I use sunblock. Yeah, it's like, I've heard everything, right? The chemicals in the sunscreen cause cancer, not the sun. And some people think that the sun causes cancer. And, you know, at the end of the day, here's my final message to all contention regarding sunburn, sunscreen, skin cancer, whatever, dude. Remember, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were in a flaming furnace for some length of time, so hot that it killed the guys that tried to throw them in. We talked about this last Sunday. It's evident that if the Lord is going to preserve you, he's going to preserve you, and if he's going to let you burn, he's going to let you burn. But what's more important than anything is that we trust God. Take the risk and do the work. You know what I mean? it kind of comes full circle, right? It's like, God, I hope that it's your will. I pray that it's your will that I don't get fried and then I have a great time on Friday. I'm going to take the risk. I'm going to be there in the sun, but I'm going to do the work. I'm going to put on the sunscreen that someone has there because they will not let me not do it. Like there's coworkers, like there's a bunch of girls who have kids and stuff. They're going to be like, you have to have something. They like spray me on the back of the neck when I'm not looking. You know, you just got to accept it. We do our part. We trust God. And we also just walk. You know, Moses was like, he had to trust God. He had to take the risk and be like, Pharaoh, God says you don't get any slaves anymore. All these people are about to leave and they're going to take all your treasure. And if you don't, your whole place is about to get trashed, man. Imagine being the guy who had to go in there and deliver God's threat to Pharaoh. That was probably pretty scary, but he did the work. And in the end, the Hebrews escaped in the beautiful Exodus. The Lord carried them into the desert. They rebelled, and time went on and on and on, and we're finally here, guys. We're here. Let this be the season of non-desert. Let's enter the promised land. We might even be in the promised land right now. We don't even know. Perhaps America is Jericho. And we're living on the promised land. The land flowing with milk and honey. We got lots of cows and we got lots of bees. Let's go, America. All right, y'all. With all that being said, it is time for us to take off. It is past the wire. It's time to grab something to eat. You know how it is. Guys got to eat. With all that being said, guys, thank you for joining me for another episode of the Main Character Podcast, level 49. It's made possible by the Cult of Khan. That's you guys. I am Khan Man, and thank you for being here. We will be back on Friday for another episode of Bulge Khalifa, and I hope to see you all here on Sunday for the Sunday service. We'll see you then. God bless you guys. Take it easy.
What you think? Rearranging your mentality, got some cooler you can drink. It's a scam, it's a plan, it's a con, and I'm your man. You know I tell it like it is. I hold the secrets in my hands. Reflection and introspection is my profession. I'm recklessly disrespecting what you expect and investing in my discretion, teaching the lessons, impressions to keep you guessing what I do next, man.
Now when the 1,000 years have expired, Satan will be released from his prison. He will go forth to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together for the final battle, an army whose number is as the sand of the sea.
It's amazing the affirmations that come my way when I fake it until I make it. The truth is waiting, complacent organizations. They say I'm racist, they hate and they making payments on my vacation. I'm the man, I'm the king, I'm rejecting what you think. Rearranging your mentality, got some cooler you can drink. It's a scam, it's a plan, it's a con, and I'm your man. You know I tell it like it is. I hold the secrets in my hands. Reflection and introspection is my